Hey everyone, and good morning. Thanks so much for joining. We're going to get started here in just a minute, so sit tight and we'll be right with you. Hey guys, thanks for joining. We're going to get started here in just another minute, so sit tight, just waiting for the rest of the folks to join us. Thanks so much. Hey, for those of you just joining, we're going to get started in just another minute. So sit back, relax, and we'll get started here soon. Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our very first ever Bits and Bytes session. In other words, our monthly technical office hour series. This month, we've got an awesome presentation for you around IoT Core. In other words, cutting to the IoT Core, because you all know I love a good pun. With me today, I have my friend Lionel. Lionel is our IoT expert. And also in the room, we have a helper. We have our doogler, Penny. Penny belongs to Lionel, and let me tell you, she is a critical asset to this team. So they're going to be hosting our office hours for us today. So with that, Lionel, I'd love to pass it to you and can't wait to hear more about IoT Core.
Great, thank you. Welcome, everyone. So I'm going to be walking through a presentation today. I promise this will not be just slide way. I'm going to go into a little bit of an interactive session as well, where what I'm going to do is take a Raspberry Pi that's on my desk and connect that to IoT Core. I'll walk through the steps. When we're working with partners, typically one of the first hurdles is how do I even get started? Where do I start? What do I actually start doing? And I'll try and help you guys build a little tool set to be able to do exactly that. Okay, so there's all these millions and billions of things in the world that are currently trying to be connected to the internet. And one of the things that we at Google started building out many moons ago was something called IoT Core. It allows you to start connecting devices. Initially, we said, you know what, we're just going to use PubSub. And we had a lot of the partners and developers out there using PubSub to publish directly into the cloud. And then we realized, hey, well, there's actually this thing called MQTT and HTTP as well. And we want to start being able to connect data and transport the data up into the cloud and actually make it useful. So there's still going to be significant growth within IoT. So there's still a whole bunch of growth coming. And if we look at this, we still predict that by 2020, there's going to be over 20 billion devices that are actually connected to the internet. That introduces significant challenges, right? Scale, everything like that. Anybody that's actually tried to build out an MQTT farm to actually take in messages from all these devices knows what the pain points and the challenges are around that. And hence, Cloud IoT Core. What is IoT Core? Well, it's a fully managed service to securely connect and manage your global device network. Okay. If you look at Cloud IoT Core, we're essentially taking data in. We're taking the data from these devices that we configure and add into registries, and you securely register back into that, and you can start moving data around within the cloud platform itself using PubSub actually as the backend topology or as a backend transport mechanism. This is what we're looking at today. So we'll be looking at taking a Pi, just a Raspberry Pi, connecting it to Cloud IoT Core using MQTT, and then I'll be using PubSub in the backend to do some other things to try and help you guys. If you have a device, you don't know what the schema is looking like or anything like that, and you want to do some debugging, I'll show you how to manage that part of it as well. Okay, so there's a couple of key things. One is the protocol bridge and then the device manager itself. Okay, so the protocol bridge is super important because what it's doing is it's taking data on MQTT and HTTP if you want to, and connecting that data directly into the core itself. Okay, everybody remembers this big battle between VHS and Betamax. Well, we sort of see the same thing in IoT, right? There's all these different protocols that we're seeing from transport and everything like that. There's CoAP and MQTT and all these other things. At Google, we've sort of gone and said, cool, we'll set on the two, so HTTP and MQTT itself. So allowing you a bit of flexibility from that point of view to get the data into the cloud platform. Yeah. The nice thing is that building out load balancing is typically quite challenging, be able to get all the backend infrastructure and everything like that globally done. Good news is we actually do that for you. We've got global data access with PubSub, so you can send the data anywhere through geographical regions, everything like that. And we have a massive global network. You know, we're world class, and we have over 100 points of presence all over the world, and we have our own fiber running around the planet. So low latency transport across the planet. One of the big things that everybody's concerned about within IoT specifically is the security element of it. Everything that we do is encrypted. All the messages that are transported in the backend within the cloud platform itself will be encrypted end to end, so you don't have to worry about that. All comms up to the platform itself will be secured with TLS as well. And I'm actually in the demo part of this. Hopefully I haven't annoyed anybody lately, and hopefully the demo goes through and works seamlessly. I'll actually show you how do you go and generate your little certificate. How do you register the device? There were actually some preempted questions around securing this, and I'll share some links and some sites as well. And I've got an email address at the bottom, at the end of the slide deck as well, that you guys are more than welcome to actually email me, and I'll answer any of the offline questions as well. Okay, security is obviously super important. And rather than going through all the basics of security, I'm just going to show you how we do it. With the walkthrough itself. Now, device manager, that's the next little part of this. How do we go and register these devices? So how do we configure individual devices? How do we secure them? How do we register all the elements around them? And I'll show you that within the walkthrough as well. One of the cool things that I will show in this as well, I've got two Raspberry Pis in this configuration. One Raspberry Pi is just a plain vanilla Raspberry Pi running the latest Raspbian OS, and that's it. And I'll be pulling some data from just its CPU, and I'll show you my code on how I did that, and I'll be publishing that code into the cloud platform. Another Raspberry Pi that I have actually has a Sensat on it, and I can get a whole bunch of additional data from that. But the nice thing is I can control the Sensat as well, and I'll show you that. So I'll be doing control and then configuration as well on the device, and I'll be showing the slight differences between those. Okay. All the work that I'll be doing will be done using Python and using IoT Core Admin SDK. So I'll be sending configuration messages. I can enable and disable that as well. So saying, hey, I've got a device that's configured and registered. I don't want it to receive messages. I don't want it to be able to do that anymore, because maybe you actually have a device that just wants to publish data. You don't want to run the risk of somebody maliciously sending configuration changes or anything like that. I can, within the devices themselves, enable and disable certificates. So each device could have multiple certificates. So let's say worst case scenario, your certificate's actually compromised. You can have multiple certs and send down a config and say, hey, switch to this different certification, well, different cert as well, and start that all over. That means you don't have to go and touch that device physically to regenerate the certificates. Another thing that we do have, and I'll share the web site for that is something called a secure element. So a hardware chip that you'll actually put onto your boards directly, and it will handle everything for you in hardware. That's another way to do it. Rather than using software and everything like that, you can actually have a secure element as well. That was one of the pre-questions that came through. So what about control? I'll be showing you how to control the device. There's a couple of things. So configuration, you'll actually set the config, and every time the device connects, it will have a persistent state. So it will know every time the application starts up, it will go and check, hey, what's my config? I might want to go and do something like say, hey, change the sense hat to red or blue or purple or whatever color. And I'll show you that element within it as well. We can go and get something called state as well. I'm not running the state in this, but if you guys email me, I'll show you. We have a couple of protected topics. And the big difference is that typically the device from the edge to the cloud will be publishing. So it will be publishing to its topic that I define, and I'll show you where to go and define that. And the control, the configuration, and the state are all topics that the device would actually subscribe to. So it'll be subscribing and waiting for information there to say, hey, give me my state, and then I'll actually publish my state. So there's a couple of control states that we can do there. Okay, the other thing is, within this platform itself, we've got role-level access control. So you can go and build out a platform, and you can give only certain individuals access to the various elements. You can go down to per registry, device, everything like that. So completely secure the environment to make sure that no unwanted visitors are welcome. Okay. So there's a number of ways to do this. You can do it through the console and APIs. I'll be doing it through the console today. The nice thing with our user guide and config guides and everything like that, you'll see there's multiple flavors on how to do stuff, and I'll show you that as well. So you can do it via the console, you can do it via the API, everything like that, and I'll show you guys where to start looking to get connected to Cloud IoT Core. The email address that I spoke about is that one. So iot-partner@google.com. There's a few of us that actually subscribe to that one, and you can get all the info that you need from us through there. Okay, so that's not the end of it though. So hopefully everybody can see my screen, and I'm getting a nod saying that everything is there. Oh, cancel. Right. This is actually my little Raspberry Pi. So this is my workstation. It's called Manamarak. Anybody that is from South Africa will know it's a little space alien. So that's my Linux desktop. What I want to do is I want to SSH into my Pi, which is at 192.168.2.2. And into my password. Hopefully I don't fat finger that. Okay. What I've pre-done on this, if we actually go ls, I can go IoT Core demo and ls within that. You'll see I've got a little application there that's called Intro Core. What the app does, it's just a Python script that will actually go and connect to the core itself and take data from my CPU from a temperature point of view. I'll run through that code for you as well. I have a requirements.txt file that I use over here that is for all my Python additional info that I need to actually get this working. I have this all up on a GitHub repository as well. So if you guys actually just go to my GitHub, you'll be able to pull all this down. So it'll give you the intro, what do you need? So it requires a Raspberry Pi, adding sensors requires a sense hat, controlling the sensors, actually you require a sense hat as well. I've got all the commands, shortcuts, everything like that for you, so you guys can actually get everything installed and ready to run. Okay, so let's go to Cloud IoT Core itself. Let's get some of the basics done. Okay, so this is my little training pod that I have created. And if we go down here, you'll see I've actually pinned a couple of shortcuts that I usually use. So most of you, your view would probably be slightly different. And this is just all the stuff that I typically use. If we go and look at IoT Core itself, by default, you'll get a little notice saying the API is disabled. So I'll re-enable, I just enabled the API yesterday itself as well. And what I want to go and do is I'm going to create a registry. I'll call it Pi demo. I'll select the region, which will be US Central. From a protocol point of view, we can actually say, hey, are we going to be using MQTT or HTTP? I'm just going to use MQTT in this itself. Okay. we'll see when I click on the drop down for the topic. So this is for all my telemetry data. I don't have one at the moment, so I'm actually going to go and create one over here. So I'll call that Pi data. Create that one. And over here, I can go and drop down and create another one just for my state. That's my daughter phoning. I do apologize. So we'll go and create one called Pi state. Now, these are the global topics that are actually being created now. So these are pub subtopics. And the nice thing is you're pretty much ready to go as long as you've got all the certificates and everything like that generated. Okay, so we're going to go click create. And now we'll see I've got two topics, Pi data and then Pi state. So I'll be posting to this table over here, or into this topic, sorry. And I will then be sending all my telemetry data, my sensor data. And I have another one that's called Pi state, which I would subscribe to if I wanted to. Okay. What I currently do not have, though, is any devices. So I need to go and actually create a device. So if I go in, create a device, I can go and select the device name, and I will call that Pi-demo, and I want to allow device communication. Obviously, if blocked, all communication from the device will be rejected. I want to actually upload my certificate. The certificate that I'm going to generate is an RS256X509 certificate. If I just hover over here, it will tell me exactly what that is. And what I need to do, though, obviously, I don't have that certificate right now. What we'll see, I actually have previously, or even if we go here, to my little GitHub repository, we can take this and copy that. And I am going to not do that. Paste that in there. But what I want to do is I'm going to call that core pub. So that's my public key. And then my private key I will call core private. Okay, this is essentially, oops. That's going to generate my certificates for me now. So this is a normal stock standard OpenSSL request that I'm doing. So it takes a few seconds to actually go and generate that. Okay. The key thing to this is we only share the public key. Okay. The private key obviously stays local. And if we want any details on additional notes on this, we can actually go over here and we'll actually show creating the key pairs, exactly what it is, how it works, everything like that. And if you want some additional reading, then you can go and read up on public key formats and everything else as well. Okay, so let's go back here. So one of the things that I need to do now, though, is I do need to get the key off. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my machine over here, and I am going to go demo. Let's make the key for core, cd key core, right. So I now know that that file that I actually want is called core.pub. So I want to go and scp pi at 192.168.2.2, and it is going to be in IoT core -demo / core.pub, and I just want to dump it over here. I'm going to authenticate to that. Right. So now if I actually ls on here, we'll see that that's actually available there. So one of the key things that I need to do now is I'm quickly going to remote desktop into my Linux workstation itself, because I can't actually copy that down to my Chromebook where I am working from right now. So as soon as I authenticate to that, I'll be able to pull that key down, and we'll start working on exactly that. So what I'm going to be doing when that's, well, that's actually authenticating. So here we go. So I'm back on my Cloud IoT platform. And what I can do now is go into my files itself, demo. There's my key. So this is my key that I'm going to be uploading. Okay. So I'll be going back into Cloud IoT Core. And there's my Pi demo registry that I created. And if I go into devices, I want to go and create that device. So we're going to call it demo-pi this time. What did I call it on the other window? Pi demo. Yeah, so call it Pi demo. Allow, and then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to upload my key now. So we're going to go browse, and we are going to go back to documents. Oops. Until demo, key core, and then core pub. So I'm going to open that one and click create. As soon as I've done that, this device is now ready to authenticate. So I'm going to close this window back down again, minimize it down here, go back here. And if I click on here, Pi demo is now allowed. So it's registered, it's configured, and it's actually ready to go. So let's have a look at what I actually have in my little file that I actually want to use, 192.168.2.2. And log in again, ls, go to IoT Core demo, ls, have a look at that. So let's have a look at this core_private.pem. Okay, so I'm going to use nano to configure that. And let's quickly have a look at what's actually, oh, silly. Intro core, sorry. Intro core Pi, this is my app. Okay, so a couple of things that I'm doing, I'm just importing date and time. I'm importing the MQTT client as well. And then the key thing on this little one is this little element over here that I'm importing. So from GPIO 0, I'm importing CPU temperature. What's my config actually doing? Okay, so this is the whole config. So I'm essentially going to say, cool, I'm going to be using core_private.pem. So is that correct within this directory? And I can have that anywhere. So that file name's still correct. Have a look over here, scroll back down, and I'm going to be using the project project name, which is this project name over here. That's there, IoT-training-pod. So I'll be using that one. It's in GCP location. Remember when I said I created it, I created in US Central one. The registry name, though, has changed. Okay, so remember when you guys pull this down from GitHub, you will have to do this yourself as well. So this is called demo registry over here, and it is actually called Pi demo. And then the device name itself is Pi-demo. Okay, so those are the variables that I need to change within this. Once you've done that, you've generate your certificate, and you've actually pulled down the roots.pem file as well. So all the root certificates for Google and everything like that, you can start authenticating. What is this bit of code doing? It's looking at the CPU temperature. It's generating a JSON web token as well for you. So that's why we generate certificates and everything like that. And that's how we're authenticating into Cloud IoT Core itself. What you can see is the client ID, so the registry, everything like that. And then the topic itself, which is events. That's where I'll be publishing all the data and everything else. A whole bunch of additional things that we do within the code itself. But the cool, most important little things will be the MQTT that we're connecting to on port 8883. And this is the big thing. When we're actually in an environment where maybe we have firewalls or anything like that, typically HTTP and HTTPS should be allowed through the firewall. So that might be a big factor in whether you're choosing HTTP or MQTT. If it's going to take you months to actually get the security guys to open up the firewalls, you might want to reconsider that and actually use HTTP to publish data. What do I have within my payload, though? So my payload itself is this part over here. We're looking at TS, so that's my timestamp that I'm sending up. And I'm also sending temperature. And how is temperature defined? Temperature is actually defined as my CPU temperature. I'll be sending this data once every 2 seconds. If the temperature is not changed, I'll just sleep for 1 second before I publish the next set of data again. Okay, so it's very easy. You don't need anything. And then at the end of this, I want to go and connect as well. So I modified that file. So I want to save that, and I'll call that. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is run this. Okay, so I'll be executing that. And there we can see. So it's publishing data. So we know now it's publishing. I've not had any authentication issues or anything like that. On disconnect, there was 0 errors. Okay, and we can see that it published the initial value, and it only published 3 more, where it should have published a total of 5. So that means in that second, the CPU temp didn't change significantly. So it's actually not done anything from that point of view. Okay, well, that's cool. So we know we've got data coming into the cloud platform, but where's it actually going? Do we know? Do we even know that the JSON schema is correct? So one thing that we want to do is start using Cloud Data Flow itself. Well, actually, we want to start using BigQuery first. We want to go and create, within BigQuery itself, we want to go and create the tables. We want to create the data set itself, and we want to be able to say, hey, I want to put sensor data into this location. You'll see over here what I've done is I've got a little shortcut for a query, but I could, in reality, go in here, click on sensors, and then query table. Okay, and I'm just going to query for asterisks, and I can run that. Okay, so we'll notice that this data was actually from last night when I was doing some final testing to make sure that everything was running. So the data is not actually coming through yet. The live data itself is not coming through today. What I need to do is I need to do something called data flow. I'll use data flow to make sure that I can transport the data that's coming in on the pub sub topic directly into BigQuery. Once it's in BigQuery, I can send that data everywhere. There were some questions about how do I visualize that data and what are the options. There's multiple plugins all over that you can use. So let's quickly go. How daunting is it to create this? So I'm going to call this pi to BQ. And we have some predefined templates that are available. So Cloud Pub Sub to BigQuery. What it's going to do is it's going to say, hey, you've got to tell me what is the topic that you're importing from. So a quick way to find that is open that in a new tab. And I will have a look at what my actual topics are. So we can see that that's that topic. We will take that topic, just copy and paste it right there. What's the table? Okay, oh, I didn't note down the table, but that's easy to find. So we can open that in a new tab. So it's training pod, data, and if I just go in over here, I can get details and see this table ID right there. I can take that and I can just copy and paste that in there. So this one is going to be the other one. If we go back into the storage that I showed, and we're going to use the storage in multiple places as well, and I'll show you those. So we go into the storage element, and I created a bucket earlier called demo pod. I have a temporary location over here, and I can get an overview. I can go copy there, and I can paste that in there, and I'm just going to say temp /. Okay. So as soon as I say run the job, it will start running this. Now, if my schema is incorrect when I'm actually in my BigQuery table, what will happen within the flow itself is it will dump it into an overflow bucket. So what you'll notice, I cheated a little, and I had this table predefined. I call it TS temp, or I called it TS, so that was the one field name, and I knew that because it's actually my code. If we go back into the file itself, intro core, I know from my JSON schema exactly what I'm sending up. So I know that one variable I'm sending up is called TS, and the other one that I'm sending up is temperature. So I know that from there. Okay. We might not know that though. So one of the other things that I always do is This is running now. You'll actually see it's running, and we'll start getting successful records that are going through. You'll see over there I was testing on this one. I create another one that will say pi to text. And the cool thing that you can do, you can take this and dump this to text files as well. Same thing again, we're going to have to choose the topic that we want to subscribe to. So remember, we're just creating a subscription to that topic. Once it's actually done, where do I want to put that? So we're going to go and copy this one again. And if we look in here, in my demo pod, we'll see I have a files directory. So I'm going to go and do that. And files, and I'm going to prepend that with schema dash. Okay. The temporary location is going to be back in the temp directory again. So what's going to happen now is all the data that's coming in on that topic will be dumped to a text file, so I can actually inspect that and try and work out a schema. We'll notice in the BigQuery tables, in any case, that if I was using a mismatched schema, we'll be creating another data table that will be down here that will actually show that. And I'll show you that in my other project where I have the control set up. So now we're writing files. Okay, so in theory, if I start running this code again, we'll start publishing data and it will be sending that through. Okay. Now, I want to be able to see what's going on. And I can come in here and I can actually start looking at all the files that have been created. Okay, so 749. So this is dumping my schema for me. Okay, this is the text file itself within the bucket to do that. If I go back into BigQuery, I can query the table and I can see all the data that is coming back in. And that's it. You know, within 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I've taken a Raspberry Pi that had nothing connected to it and set it up and started transmitting data back into the cloud itself. Okay, so the next part of this is actually looking at a different project that I have running already, and that's my HML IoT demo. We'll see within this one, I have a different set of rules and queries that I run, and I'll actually show you that. Okay, so if we open this up in the editor itself, this is the other Pi. So remember I said in the beginning I have two Raspberry Pis. So this is just a plain vanilla Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to disconnect that one now. Now I'm going to go into a Pi that actually has a SenseHat sensor on it. And this is where we start doing all the cool things. Okay.
We haven't started the cool things yet?
We've not started the cool things yet.
Wow.
Okay, so we go into demo directory on this one, and you'll see I've got a whole bunch of things that are running over here. So if I go and select more intro hat.py, we'll notice I have a couple of different things that I'm running on this one. So all the same thing, you can see my registry that I'm connecting to, but a couple of different things is I have the Raspberry Pi, so the SenseHat sensor, and I'm generating data from temperature, pressure, I almost said predator, pressure and humidity itself as well, and I'm publishing all that up into the topic. Okay, so I could go and run Python 3 intro hat. And now we'll see that this actually looks slightly different. Okay, so because I'm sending multiple variables within that. So if I go and run this query, there we go. So these are the latest variables that I've actually set up, that I've sent. Okay, so just so you guys know that everything I'm doing is correct, I am going to send the core one as well. So this is on a different project, so I can actually send the core data itself. And if we run the query over here, we'll start seeing the temperature, humidity is null, and pressure is null. And it's important to note that what I actually did on here when I created this was within the schema itself, I said they're nullable. If they're not nullable, you'll actually error out and you'll get all this info, and you can go and query that specifically as well. Okay. So you might actually see that your data flow wouldn't even execute properly either. In the old version, it didn't execute. Now we've actually gone. And this is where it will dump out all the errors for the sensors that we can't actually interpret the schema on. Okay, so you could come back here and you could figure out the schema itself as well. Okay, so that's sending data now. And this is just one level up. So if we go into intro hat, I'll just nano in there so we can see the color schemes. You'll notice that all of a sudden my GPIO 0 is gone because all I'm interested in is the actual SenseHat elements themselves. So I've included SenseHat, and from SenseHat, I'm including SenseHat, I'm importing SenseHat. This is all the authentication details for my project. My registry's name is called my registry, and the device ID is my device. Same thing with the JSON web token that we're generating, and the topics, the events, everything like that. And that's it. So on connect, I want to go and send the payload, which is TS, temperature, pressure, and humidity. Okay. But we want to do something additional on top of this as well. So if we look in this directory, what we want to be able to do is that intro to command and config. Okay. Okay. Ooh. So there's a couple of additional things that we're doing now. Okay. We'll start looking and we'll see that down here, I've got a whole bunch of additional things that I've actually included. So I want to include colors that I can do, because what I want to do is if I receive the message that is red, I want to go and set the temperature on the SenseHat to red. If I get the command temp, I will actually show the temperature itself. And if I hit clear, the SenseHat would actually clear. We're sending up all the other info as well. And this I define joystick left, I get a little arrow, everything like that. But notice this. Okay, so on this line, I'm actually connecting to MQTT, and I'm subscribing to the config and also the commands. Okay, so where do we look at that? What do we actually do from that point of view? So let's have a look over here. Go back into IoT Core itself. And we'll notice that if I go into my registry on this device specifically, I can go in there and select my device, which is allowed. And I can see update config. So currently it's set to green. Okay. So what that means is that that's the configuration. The big difference between commands and configurations are persistent. So every time the device actually connects, or every time the app restarts, it will have a look at this topic, subscribe to the topic, and the message green will be there. And it will know, oh, my current config should be green. Or anything else. You can actually go and predefine. If you go into the Python code, you can use my code that I have as a little reference over there, and you can start building different options around that as well. Okay. So if I go and just take that, what should happen if everything's working correctly, as soon as I execute this, we'll see the initial topic that it's getting from the configuration. Oh, okay. So it's saying matching message text green. So that means that's the configuration topic that it's actually. If I had the Raspberry Pi and I rebooted it and I restarted the app, you'd actually see the SenseHat change to the color green. Okay. And what this script is doing as well is actually just hanging out here, waiting for 999 seconds for me to actually play and show you guys different things. Okay. What I want to be able to do, though, is if we watch this, oops, I want to be able to send a command to it. So I can send the command temp, because I know now in my code, I actually have the command set up. Now we're seeing on here, straight away, I'm getting the message temp. So I'm getting the message temp. So what will happen now is on the SenseHat itself, it will be displaying the temperature. If I go back out and I execute this again, it will go back in, and green is the message that's been received. So it will go back to green again. Just so that we know I'm not going crazy, let's actually go and change this to red. Okay, so now the device should be back to red. Okay, so it got a message. So remember, I'm still publishing on that topic, so it will receive that message in line. The difference is that's persistent, so every time it actually starts up. Now I could actually go and say, hey, I want to check the state, anything like that. And on various elements, if something happens within the device, if I see a spike or something like that, I might know that I want to change the configuration for that device to blue or green or pink or purple, any other color, and I can go and do that based on events that are actually coming through. Okay, so that's it. I've showed configuration, I've showed commands, everything like that, and I've been sending a lot of data up into this PubSub itself as well. So let's have a look. One of the big questions that I always get is, well, how can I actually start visualizing that? So if I run this query, I'm going to be getting that. There's something within Google Cloud that we call Data Studio itself. It's not real time. It can give you historical trending data and everything like that. And I don't know if you noticed, but over here I actually went and said, just explore in Data Studio. What that will allow me to do is go and create a Data Studio element, and it will just create a basic chart for me to show me the count of various messages that I've been receiving over the time frame. It can give me my timestamp, everything like that, and this will show a number of messages. I can go and modify that and tweak that and have various elements, and I can try and make it more real time, so show the exact temperature at a specific time as well if I go and play with Data Studio. One of the other questions was, can I plug this into Elastic? Of course you can. There's actually an input plugin, so you can go and take the data from PubSub itself and just pull that out. Now, remember the key thing for this. Everything that I've done can be done via API. So every single query that I've done on this can be done via API. If I go and look over here, all these keys, everything like that, they're all done over there. You can do that on API. You can use it in the console. What we do as well is we give you sample code on cloud.google.com. You go into any of these, you can actually start doing everything. Using the Cloud SDK, you'll have sample code for various elements to be able to do all these other things. One of the other questions that I actually see somebody's asking is, how do I actually go and do some more? Are there simulators or anything like that? Yes, there is. So I can take that same data that I was getting from a real sensor, and I can actually use the simulators and actually start doing that. There's various elements. There's various different ways of doing that. But one of the things that we do like pointing out is something Quick Labs. So you can go and essentially the same thing that I did with this whole demo walkthrough, you can come and do it over here. So you can go on here and you can learn everything, and gives you a little data simulator, and you can start publishing data to your projects and everything else as well. Okay. So that's me.
Awesome.
And then I see there are some questions.
There are. Can you quickly flip back to our slides, Lionel?
Yes.
Beautiful. Again, Lionel, thank you so much for presenting today. I love how you were like, and now we're getting to the cool stuff. And the whole time I'm like, wait, this is all cool. What's going on? So if you can go ahead and just click to that slide after the thank you. So again, guys, we are getting ready to take your questions here. Obviously, I've been fielding some questions from you guys here in the live chat. So we will get to those in just a second. If you do have a question that you're burning to ask, please enter that into the live chat window, and we will get Lionel to answer it. Before we do that, though, I did just want to give everybody a call on, or who's on the call today, a reminder about our partner awards. For those of you who don't know, every year at Next, which is the Google Cloud Conference, we actually give awards to our partners for the incredible things that they've done over the past year. So our 2018 partner award submissions are now live. There are a ton of awards that you as a Google Cloud Tech partner can actually qualify for. That includes Global Technology Partner of the Year. You've got Technology Partner of the Year across 12 different segments, Breakthrough Partner of the Year, Diversity and Inclusion Partner of the Year, and Social Impact Partner of the Year. So no shortage of ways for you to really advertise your what you've been doing with Google Cloud and help to gain some more recognition among our team. All submissions are due February 8th. Please note that in order to be eligible, you do need to be registered for Partner Summit by February 8th. And if you have any questions about awards, we actually have an alias you can reach out to, which is Google Partner Awards at google.com. Sorry, Cloud Partner Awards at google.com. Gosh, guys, it's early on a Wednesday morning. What can I say? And then last but not least, I did want to give you guys a quick reminder about our partner quick starts. If you guys haven't checked these out yet, we actually have 2 that are related to IoT. So if you're looking to get started in building your own IoT solution, check out the IoT Quick Start or the IoT Device Integration Guide to help you with some quick pointers as to how to dig in. We also have some quick starts available, including our newest one around G Suite, data analytics, and we've got a documentation quick list. We're going to keep releasing these quick starts throughout the year. So this is not everything that we've got. We definitely have more coming. So make sure to be logging on to Cloud Connect to see when we've published something new. So with that, yes, let's definitely dig into your question. So the first question was regarding that IoT simulator, which Lionel already answered. By the way, as part of the follow-up email that you guys will get from us, we will have a bunch of these links available to you, including that link to Quick Labs, where, as Lionel showed, you can access simulators and get hands-on labs or quests, as we like to call them, to actually test out your IoT skills. Our next question was really around auto subscribing. So Lionel, for auto subscribing devices, the recommended approach would be having the device call a cloud function with its public key, which would register the device and return its ID. Or is there a better way to do that?
I think there's multiple ways to do it, but that's pretty clean. That would certainly work. So, I mean, what I would suggest is email me and let me try and work through some of the additional scenarios that we could actually look at from invoking cloud functions, which is interesting because the next one is about how do we actually start monitoring payloads. And you could actually invoke a cloud function that could look at any of the payloads that are erroring out and build a model around that. So I'm hoping that when you're saying monitoring payloads, is there a spike in something, or is the payload, maybe the schema's wrong, something like that? You could write a cloud function to control that and monitor those as well. So there's various ways to actually solve the same challenge. And I think that's why I really like GCP, is there's many tools that we can use. And some of them work for you, some of them don't. And that's part of my role, is to work with you guys to try and figure out what's the best tool for your scenario.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow. That was a twofer. We had 2 in 1 there. So if you guys do want to dig in more deeply on those topics with Lionel and want to discuss a very particular use case, again, this email address will be added to the follow-up email that you received from us. But right here, iot-partner@google.com. That's where you can reach out and you'll actually get Lionel or one of his teammates directly. And they're always happy to roll up their sleeves with you guys and learn about what it is you're trying to do and figure out the next awesome way to make it happen. Let's see, checking out our question list here. So we have a question just around one of our partners wants to leverage IoT Core in conjunction with ELK Stack. As far as sending you guys a hookup on IoT Core solution building, yes, in the follow-up email, we're going to have a bunch of links that send you to the right quick starts that will help to get you started on building those solutions. We'll send you to Quick Labs, which again, if you guys want to start practicing in an environment, the building of solutions and learning some different skills on IoT Core, it's all right there. So again, all these links will be coming right at you.
Yep, and that question around the ELK stack as well is something I didn't show, but if you're paying note, when I was actually doing all the topics and everything like that, we can actually log everything. There's various levels we can do, and then you can actually start using that for anything you want to, trending or anything else as well.
Awesome.
Okay, and remember the one thing is, as soon as it's into PubSub or into Dataflow, that gives you access to the entire GCP suite. So you can start sending that data into ML, everything like that. We've only just scratched the surface. This was purely to say, hey, we can get the data to GCP. Once it's in GCP, we can start doing anything. The other part to this is there will actually be an edge session that will come through at some point in the future that will talk specifically around the edge. I touched the edge extremely lightly. It's purely Python and it's going to get the data up. We'll cover that whole IoT edge stack.
So you touched the edge of the edge today.
Yes.
Got it. Just wanted to clarify that for our audience. Well, again, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you, Lionel, for presenting to us. This was just awesome. Definitely not something that I get to see on a day-to-day basis. So super fun for me as well.
Thank you.
And again, I'd like to thank Penny. And for those of you who don't know what a doogler is, it's when a Googler, so someone who works at Google, brings their dog to work. So Penny's been my wonderful assistant. So thank you, Penny. You made it fun today. Again, we will see you guys at next month's session. And in advance, if you guys have any questions, you know where to find us. Thanks and have a great day.